New Jersey, Florida. Next game on the card is 5-6 on the rotation. Florida minus 135 to minus 140. Home favorite. Total 6 shaded to the over. Minus 120 or so in this game. Uh, Florida, all of a sudden a couple of nice wins in a row. Pittsburgh and Toronto, two very quality Eastern Conference teams. Florida getting the win in both of those games, an overtime win against Toronto, and then they win 6-5 against Pittsburgh on Saturday. Roberto Luongo was playing good hockey, actually. I know the Pittsburgh game he gave up a few goals, but Pittsburgh's got that lethal offense. We talked about it. No shame in that. But he's playing really well. This Florida team actually has put some things together, so I'm a little hesitant to go against them. I'm not in the business, though, of laying minus 135 or 40 with Florida in particular. Some teams, like a Philly just now, I will. Playing great, surging right now, playoff-bound team likely, battling for first in the division. Florida's one of those teams I still have a little bit of a pause when I see them, laying this kind of price. Not quite as gung-ho about backing them in this price range. New Jersey coming off a 3-2 win against the Pittsburgh Penguins in their last game. Keith Kincaid, got to give him credit. That was one of his better games as a Devil this season, starting in between the pipes. Of course, he's had to go nightly pretty much in net with Corey Schneider injured for a long period of time. However, Corey Schneider might be making a return tonight for the New Jersey Devils. He's been recalled from the AHL. He's with the team in Florida ahead of this game tonight. They're saying it's just a question of will he be activated after the morning skate for this game. He might sit out. He might return instead tomorrow night. It's a back-to-back. They're against Carolina Friday night. Nevertheless, there's a potential for Corey Schneider to make his return in net for the Devils tonight. If not, it'll be Keith Kincaid again. And again, Kincaid off one of his best games the other night in beating Pittsburgh. So, to me, not a game I'm going to be involved in. I mean, not going to go against Florida. They're playing well. Playing some better hockey. They've been pretty good at home as well this year, but not going to lay that price. Totals wise, 6 with shaded to the over. Not something I'm going to get involved with from an over standpoint. If you can actually trust Kincaid to play well, and Luongo plays like he has for the most part since he's returned over the last 10 days or so, you could get an under out of this game actually at 6, depending if you get the goaltending we saw from each of these guys in their last start, Kincaid and Luongo. Of course, leave the door open for Schneider to return. That's still a possibility as well. But we'll probably actually go under for a lean in this game, if anything. But from a side perspective, yeah, it's priced pretty good for Florida. I don't see a ton of value to step in with a play on them in that game. We've got another good one coming up here in this game. Is this actually, Andrew, this is a game of yours, actually, Devils and Panthers. You've got this listed on your card tonight. So, Andrew, what do you see happening here?
Yeah, guys. Well, you know what? I'm hoping to see a Bobby Lou versus Corey Schneider matchup here tonight. I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to get it, but either way, if it's Schneider or not, I'm looking at the under in this game, and I am leaning slightly on the Florida Panthers, guys. I'm more so on the under, but the reason is I'm a big fan, guys. When I'm looking at different teams, I'm a big fan of teams being able to win in different ways against different teams and be able to match up against different styles. And for me, it means a lot about being able to bounce back and looking at different patterns. So I love looking at the last 10 games, last 15 games, last 5 games scale, seeing how they're winning their games, seeing how they're losing games, and what's really affecting them. And especially looking at the lines that they were giving. Well, look back here just real quick. February 17th, they're playing Calgary, 6-3 win. They're plus 122 underdogs. Then they're playing their next game after that, back to back, the 18th. They get pummeled 7-2 versus Winnipeg. Next game after that, Toronto, 1-0 loss. So Toronto versus Florida. I mean, you don't think that's going to go 1-0 whatsoever. I mean, nobody at all would have predicted that one to go 1-0 really. Then they have Washington, a team that's supposed to be a high-scoring team that you can always count on for a tough matchup. They're a minus 116 favorite. They beat them 3-2. Then 6-5 win versus Pittsburgh, 3-2 win versus Toronto. Point being here, guys, is their talent is there. They know how to win hockey games. They just have to find consistency. I think this Florida team is a lot better than people think it is. I think it has a lot more talent than people think it is. And I think the matchup against this New Jersey Devils team right now, even though the price is kind of steep, and I know we just talked about that for a few minutes about different prices and where we think they should be, but with this team right now at home, 5-1 in their last 6 home games, they're 4-1 in their last 5 games following a win, and more importantly, 6-1 in their last 7 versus an Eastern Conference. I think the stats line up right now for them And looking at this Devils team, they're 1-6 in their last 7 meetings against Florida. It's not looking too good for them in the history. The under is 4-1-1 in the last 6 meetings, and I truly do think, like you mentioned, Ian, in the pattern right now, I think the way it's going to go for Florida right now is the under. And I think that Bobby Lou will probably have a good performance tonight. I think that New Jersey right now, the way that they play, guys, I've noticed when I watch their game tape, when I watch even their highlights, what I notice in them, they don't get too many good. They're not one of those gritty teams that's banging pucks in from the doorstep. They're not one of those teams that's getting traffic in front of the net, that has players bumping the goalie, and those kind of annoying, pesky players, kind of like Brad Marchand, kind of like Brendan Gallagher. They just have way too many flutter pucks from the outside, from the side of the net, and I think that does work in the favor of the Florida Panthers. A lot of the time, guys, I have not really been a fan of this Florida Panthers defense, but one thing I'll give them credit for now, guys, and we'll notice it tonight. They're doing a great job of getting the puck out of their own end very, very fast. I mean, they're leaving it all up to the forwards. They're not spending any time in their own end. They're not trying to hold the puck, be too fancy, be too cute with the puck. They're taking care of things on their own and getting it up to their talented forward. So I think that, in this matchup, in this home matchup, the history we've seen, New Jersey right now, 1-6 straight up in their last 7 games playing Florida. Florida, like we mentioned, I think the matchup just works in favor of Florida right now. The talent that they have on their team right now, the top 2 lines of this team, they're just they're one of those things right now, guys, where I understand they're kind of the bulk of this team, but there's too much talent. There's not one guy you can really pick out, but there's too much talent right now on this Florida team, and I get it. The price is steep, guys, but I'm looking at that money line for Florida and the under in this game.
Yeah, and a big win against Pittsburgh the other night. So you wonder, is New Jersey going to have that, game face on again for a second straight game? Florida playing like they want to make the playoffs. They're playing desperate, and you can tell we watch hockey because we're all probably one of the few people that realize that the one issue Florida might have going forward is an injury to Dennis Malgin. And Dennis Malgin's not going to move the needle for anybody. But if anybody actually sees the Florida Panthers, watches, and has a clue what's going on here, they'll see that Dennis Malgin's been a big impact for the Florida Panthers this season, and not having him might hurt that team a little bit. It's a guy that, has played pretty well this season. He's got 10 goals, 8 assists. He's a fast skater. He's going to be out now for several weeks, so that's going to move the deck chairs a little bit with that Florida team in terms of their top 6. You can't say enough about the top line in particular. They were great again against Toronto. Evgeny Dadonov's been amazing lately. Barkov, of course, all season's been good. Bukestad's been pretty solid. Huberdeau is starting to come along. You get a guy like Jared McCann scoring an overtime winner for you the other night. So there's some guys stepping up right now for the Florida Panthers, which is good to see. Back end, Mike Matheson's been a pleasant surprise for them. I think he's played pretty well. Yandel and Ekblad, their top pair, pretty good. And Luongo back in net, 4-1 since he's been back. So team playing well, and Florida 10-3 since the All-Star break. So there's no doubt they're making this push. We'll see if it can continue tonight, but I'm certainly leaning their way, and Andrew's actually going ahead with Florida in this game.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to our channel. Now, we've put a lot of work into producing all these free videos, so please help us out and keep all our content free for you forever by simply liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Now, not to mention, a visit to our industry-leading website will warm the hearts of all our SBR employees, especially myself. Now, the links are over there to the left, so do check those out. Thanks for watching.